This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Buick Enclave, and this is for the 2025 plus models. If you're in a previous gen version, the buttons, the layouts, and things like that are slightly different, but the functionality is exactly the same. If I'm able to get into one of those last generation versions, you'll find a walkthrough down in the description, but let's dive in and I'll show you what you need to know. So starting off, along the outside, you've got your current time along with your current outside temperature. You tap the time, you can adjust it out. You've also got an option here for user profiles, and you can add in multiple profiles. One of the benefits there is that once you've got a profile set up, you'll be able to adjust different things out. So did you want to connect your Gmail account to it? Yes or no? You could rename it, but you can also add in security. So if you wanted to have a profile lock, so a pattern pin or a password, you can lock out your profile so people can't look through all of the different settings that you've saved in. So again, very useful if you've got multiple people driving, but even just for general safety. But for each individual profile that you've got set up, you'd be able to set up different options for your maps, for your phone, for your presets and audio, things like that. So if multiple people are driving, set them up. But even for yourself, I'd recommend at least setting up your own unique profile and then locking it out using a pattern pin or a password. You've got a series of other icons along the outside. So the top two are locked into place. So you've got your basic home button there if you wanted to jump back to the home screen. And then you've got this little guy, which brings you up to this option here. And you have the flexibility of customizing this look a little bit. So if you hit the little edit icon there, you can switch it out. So do you want your trip information, Google Maps, or audio showing as the main screen? So those are the only options that you can jump between there, but you've at least got a little bit of flexibility if you'd like. And then you've got 4 other icons along the bottom, and these ones are customizable. So if you push and hold, you could then change up the icon layout. But you can also swap it out with these icons. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you wanted a button push for park assist. You can adjust that out. Maybe you wanted to have your controls up there. You can adjust it out that way. So these 4 are fully customizable. Top 2 are locked into place. And then you've got so many different settings and options. So let's actually start along the top here with vehicle status. So vehicle status, you've got 4 options. So maintenance gauges, things like that. On this main screen, you can hit the plus button in order to jump between other options. So you want to look at your brake pad life, things like that. You could hop into any of these options. But one neat thing is that you've got your tire pressure, brake pad life, oil life, etc. Any of these options, any of the gauges, you can also push that into the cluster screen. So let's say, I don't know, maybe you wanted to have your coolant temperature there. You could then add it into the driver display. If you wanted to go back and maybe you wanted your trip information, so your overall fuel economy, you could bump that into the display. If you wanted to have your trip counters, so trip 1, trip 2, add that into the display that way. And then you can also reset your trip counters. So you could reset trip 1, trip 2 just by simply hitting there and then reset, and that's just going to reset it back out for you. Pretty neat, but you've got all of your options, air quality, things like that. Back home, next up is your Google Assistant. So you've got a voice command prompt. You can tap here in order to launch the assistant, and you can do things like change radio stations. You can navigate using your voice. You'll be able to control climate and things like that using your voice too. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but rather than fiddling with the screen, you can adjust most things out. There's a voice command prompt. You can tap on the steering wheel, and you can also say, "Hey Google," and that's going to launch into your assistant that way. Next up is Maps, and this is Google Maps. So this is a full Android device. So that means you've got all of your great services like PlayStore, etc. But if we hop into Maps for a second, it's Google Maps. So these exact same as if you were running maps on your phone. Along the outside, you could hit there in order to search for an address. So if we navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.4 kilometers away.
So you'll be able to navigate using your voice that way. Along the outside, you can tap this in order to be able to show high traffic. There's guidance audio, so do you want to have muted routes, alerts, mute, etc. So you could go that way to do it, and then you can also tap this way if you'd like to. So unmuted means you're going to get turn-by-turn notifications with a voice assistant. So it's essentially a beep and a voice. You can get nothing or strictly an alert if you'd like to. You could adjust out your route options. So do you want to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that? You'd have that flexibility. If you wanted to, download offline maps because maybe you're going somewhere where you're not going to have an active data connection. You'll be able to download maps too to still be able to use your navigation as you go. From here, you could change up your heading this way. You've got full pinch to zoom capabilities, but you can also use this if you'd like to, recenter it back onto you. along the top right side, there's also this, and you can sign into your Google account. So if you're signed into your Google account on your phone, so your Gmail account, and you've been searching Google Maps, any map that you've searched for, any address you've searched for would essentially pull up on your phone, from your phone into the infotainment system. It's pretty neat. And then searching for addresses is really straightforward. So I don't know, maybe if you wanted to go, actually, let's do this again. Navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.4 kilometers away.
So let's choose
Navigate
one
to that one.
that's a little bit, let's go to this one here. So from here, I've chosen one that's a little bit further away because if you want to, you can hit this. And that's going to give you the option of moving between different route choices. So you can choose between different options there. You can avoid different things on the route too. And then you could add an additional stop in. So let's say if you're going to go to Tim Hortons, but maybe you also want to fill up on gas. So we're going to go to a gas station and see what's available. So they'll see what's available along the route. Canada's along the way there anyway, so we may as well do that and add in a stop. You could then take the little hamburger icon here and drag it around. So maybe you wanted to stop for gas first before you grabbed your coffee. Maybe you don't want to grab the coffee anymore. You can do that and then just tap done. And then we hit there. That's going to get the route going. And then once the route's actively going there, it's going to show you your turn-by-turn directions inside of the cluster screen. If you've got a head-up display, it'll also show you your turn-by-turn directions there. On top of that, you can hit this button along the steering wheel in order to jump into, watch this, a full mapping cluster view. So you've got this, so driver assistance view, your basic view, and then mapping cluster. I mean, that's pretty neat. You can tap the X icon there in order to be able to cancel your route out. And then you've got all of the addresses that you've searched for previously with all of your available point of interest icons. But that's using factory navigation. It's really simple, which means next up is adding in a phone. So as of right now, you can see no phones are connected. Tap on Manage Phone and then add a phone in. Starting off on the iPhone, we're going to go to Bluetooth and just waiting for Buick 7237 or whatever your Buick name is. There we go to pop up. And it'll take a second here. PIN numbers match up, so pair and pair. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes. And you can stop here. So we're connected over Bluetooth, so you can make phone calls and you can also stream audio if you'd like to. But you can also use wireless Apple CarPlay. It is backwards compatible, so if you wanted to use either a USB Type A or a USB Type C cable, you'd have that flexibility. You just need to make sure if it's the larger USB Type A, it needs to have the data transfer icon on there. But we've got wireless, so let's use wireless. Use CarPlay, and in just a second here, let's hit OK. And CarPlay should launch it in a second. If it doesn't, tap CarPlay icon, and look at that. We've got Apple CarPlay. Amazing. Along CarPlay here, you've got your current time, connection, and battery level. These are apps that were last opened. So your last map, audio application, miscellaneous application. You can tap there to go to a basic icon view. Tap again in order to go to a little split screen. Pretty neat. Now the home screen here is kind of customizable. So you'll always have whatever map was open last. You've got a search box, audio box, and then if you've got a calendar notification coming up today that hasn't come up yet, that's going to show up. If you didn't have a calendar notification today, that would go away and it would be the search box and your audio box stretched across the top. But you can tap there. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze that are available. The downside is that you've got no pinch to zoom capabilities here on the CarPlay side of things. So we could zoom in and out this way. I'm a bigger fan of using Waze because if there are speed traps, so cops pulling people over, if there are traffic accidents, people are pretty good at marking that stuff off. You can mark things off too. So if you notice a speed trap, crashes, hazards on the road, you can give other drivers a heads up. But you've got all sorts of map applications, like I said. Live One's a radio app. Hoopla's a library app. You've got YouTube Music, so strictly music, no video playback support inside of Apple CarPlay. You've got podcasts that are available too, so audiobooks, things like that. So many options. If you tap Settings, you can customize this screen a tiny little bit. You can turn on driving focus. You could change the appearance out, but you can adjust your wallpaper. So maybe there's a color scheme that you like more. You can adjust it out if you'd like to. Pretty neat. You can also adjust the icon layout. But before we get there, there's a voice command prompt on the steering wheel. If you do a light tap, that's going to be the assistant for the vehicle. If you do a long push and hold, that is going to activate your Siri assistant. So short button push is the assistant for the vehicle. Long is for your phone assistant. And then if you wanted to customize the layout, What you're going to do, go to your vehicle, or your phone settings, I should say. Settings, you're going to go to General, and then CarPlay, find your vehicle. You can forget it, customize, or turn CarPlay off. But let's say if you can't even get to this step because CarPlay is not working for you, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough on some different things you can try to fix CarPlay if it's not working. But we want to go customize here, and there are so many options. Maybe you want your podcast along the top, and you're a bigger fan of, maybe you want to have Waze up there too. You could just do a push and hold in order to be able to adjust any of these icons and drag them around. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen. So it removes it, but it saves it all in the bottom of the phone, so you could add it back in. If you've played around with the icon layout too much and you don't like what you've done, on your phone, along the top right side, there's a reset option. So you're just going to tap reset, and that just brings you back to that factory default screen. If you're on the home screen, you can tap back into CarPlay that way. I've got the icon set up here for CarPlay too, but let's say if it wasn't there, so maybe you had another option there and you'd prefer to have CarPlay. You could just push and hold in order to have a button there for CarPlay. And if we go into settings, connections, well, I guess on this one, you can toggle CarPlay off completely if you'd like to. Tapping into phones gets you back to this screen so you can look at different options. First to connect, you want it to listen for, hey Siri, things like that. Or you could switch back out to Bluetooth. So if you don't want to use CarPlay features, you just want Bluetooth calling and media, you've got that flexibility. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of the Enclave. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. So if you weren't on this screen, what you do is just go into settings, connections, phones, and then hit this little plus icon there. And then as of right now, so I'm connected to the iPhone still. So we're just going to tap switch phones. And then on your Android, you're just going to pull up your Bluetooth settings, and we're looking for whatever your vehicle name is there. There we go. And pin numbers there match up, so OK and pair. There we go. Do you want to allow access to messages and contacts? This is not my car, so again, I'm going to say no to that one. And again, you can stop here if you just want to be connected over Bluetooth, or you can enable Android Auto. See my idea? It's got backwards compatibility, so if you wanted to use a USB cable, you could. But a few seconds in, welcome to Android Auto. Okay, and look at that. Fully connected to Android Auto too. Love it. Along the outside of Android Auto here, so you've got some basics. So this is Google Maps for Android Auto. You can tap this in order to get to a little icon view back to your home screen. You've got your assistant for Android Auto. So there are two different Android assistants because of this screen. So there's your assistant for the screen. So a light button push will bring up the assistant for the screen. Long button push and hold is going to bring up the assistant for your phone. From there, you've got some basic icons along the very bottom there, along with your current connection and your battery level. Now on this device, I do have Waze installed. So you can see there, I've got Waze installed there. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on how you can add Waze to Android Auto. And then if we go back to this screen for a second, so you've got this little split screen, but if you tap the map icon there, that's going to bring you into a fuller screen. Tap again this way in order to get to the little split screen. Then you could also customize the icon layout this way. So if you'd like to, you're going to search for Android Auto, go to Android Auto settings, and you've got so many options. But we're looking for customize launcher. Customize launcher there, and you can see the icon layout. Anything with a check mark next to it, you could get rid of it if you'd like to, but you can add things back in. If you wanted to, you could also customize the layout. So all you're going to do, drag along the outside, and then push and hold in order to be able to adjust these out. So you could adjust up the layout a little bit if you'd like to. In order for the changes that you made here to come into effect, all you have to do, hop home, go to your settings, go to your connections, go to your phones, you're going to disconnect from Android Auto, you're going to reconnect to Android Auto, and when we launch back in, the changes that we made to the icons have now come into effect. So straightforward. If you hop back into your connections again, back into your phones, you've got both phones that have been connected. So you could disconnect, Android Auto reconnect over Bluetooth. You can tap options there to show first to connect. And the benefit there is that if you've got multiple phones connected, it's who's it going to try to connect to first. You can change out the connection type. So do you want either Bluetooth calling and Android Auto, or Android Auto, I should say, media source priority, or you can forget the phone and forget. And we've deleted that phone, and same idea, let's go ahead and forget this other phone and forget. And you're set to go, but it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of this ride. And next up, so you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. They're grayed out because I don't have a phone connected. Next up is going to be your audio. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth. If you had a USB stick with MP3s on there, those would all show up as available options. On AM, FM, or SiriusXM, you can hit this little guy in order to be able to manually tune this way if you'd like to. So that's easy. You can tap there again in order to see all of your available stations. But if you hop into this here, you could manage your radio favorites. So you can see all of the available stations that you've got saved. So if you wanted to, you could just go ahead. If you wanted to start fresh, let's just go ahead and delete all of these presets. So what we're doing is just deleting presets here. And if we hop back again now, let's start fresh, and you've got all of your available stations. So all you're going to do is navigate through and save in whatever stations you're a fan of listening to. And the big benefit of doing this is that in behind the left-hand side of the steering wheel, you're going to find buttons, and that's going to let you change between all of your available presets. You could then add in however many presets you want. So AM, FM, Sirius XM. If you tune to whatever station, you could then push and hold there if you wanted to be able to save into another station. And it's a mix of AM, FM, and Sirius XM. If we go to Sirius XM for a second, if you're a big fan of this station, or if you wanted to adjust out, so rock, hop, hip hop, etc., move into any of these options, and then you can push and hold in order to overwrite, or push and hold in order to save a new station. On the SiriusXM side of things, you can show related, play the artist station, play pause, hit there in order to get to all of your available category views too, and then back home. So using audio is pretty straightforward. There are buttons in behind the steering wheel if you wanted to be able to adjust your volume. And then just down the middle, you've also got this little dial. So you can use that in order to adjust your volume out. You can push in order to mute, push to bring it back again, or push and hold in order to put your screen into a calming view. But that's using radio inside of the ride. Tapping this gets you some options for your sound settings. So do you want to adjust out your bass, mid-range, and treble? What I'd recommend here is play one of your favorite songs, and while it's playing, adjust it out until it sounds perfect for you. I've personally found something like this works inside of the Enclave, but you might find something different. You can bring it back to 0 if you'd like to, and then adjust it out until it sounds good for you. You want it focused on the people in the first row, second row, driver, passenger, back to middle again. And back. You've got your camera there too, so you've got your front view, overhead, side by side. You could look at your back view too, so you've got different options there. You can hit this in order to show your top-down view. Your guidelines, do you want those showing, yay or nay? It's available. One thing that I wish is that inside of your backup camera, I'd like to see this utilized a little bit differently. I don't know what GM can do. Maybe move this off to the side so that you can use more screen real estate, because there's this big, beautiful screen, and they are not using as much real estate for the rear camera as I think they probably should. There's ambient lighting available inside of the ride where you can adjust out individual colors. It does look really sharp at nighttime. You can adjust out the brightness too. So if you could toggle it off completely, make it brighter or darker. The vehicle has park assist. It can help out with both parallel and perpendicular parking in and out. So for the left or the right-hand side. But if you want to walk through on how to actually use park assist, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough on that system. Climate control settings are available here too. So you've got digital climate available this way, and then you've got your basic climate control settings just underneath the screen. So you can toggle climate on or off, put it to an auto mode. There's technically tri-zone climate, so you can adjust that out. You could adjust your speed, max defroster, rear defroster too. And then inside of the screen, so many other options that are available. So the rear seats, you could lock it out if you'd like to, so people in the second row can't adjust their climate. You can have that going to their face and feet, toggle it off, adjust everything for the first row here. And then as you adjust it, you can see it's adjusting it through the screen that way too. You can tap this in order to get to some different options. So climate and air quality, I'll get to that one last. And from there, series of different controls that are available. So you can toggle on the overhead dome light if you'd like to. You can lock out the windows, bring up your camera. You can toggle traction control on or off. The only reason that you'd want to do this is if you're driving around and you're getting wheel slippage, so snowy conditions, etc. You've got your high beam mode that's available too, and then park assist. But if you tap more controls, that gives you other options. So do your doors, windows, etc., do you want to lock these out? You've got options for your liftgate height, so you can even customize it so that it stops at a certain point. There are options for your lights, and you've got so many options. So toggling the dome lighting on, you've got auto high beam, and then your headlamp modes. So with your high beams in general, in the auto mode, if the vehicle recognizes the lamps are needed, it's going to turn them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to turn them off before turning them right back on again. So I recommend keeping yourself in the auto mode with the auto high beams turned on. But if you want to permanently lock your high beams out, you're going to go into the headlamp mode there. From there, you're just going to push away to turn your high beams on, either push away or pull towards you to turn them off. It's just that when you're in the auto mode, you can't permanently lock them out, but you can flash them regardless. I always just recommend keep yourself in the auto mode though. Options for your drive, so traction control, there's lane assistance, so it's going to nudge you back into your lane. We can tell that it's on because of these lanes there, so you can toggle the system on, off as necessary. There's a speed limiter available too, with 3 unique levels, so manual, auto versus off. What this one does is that you can essentially have it set so that you can't go faster than a certain speed, or you can have the vehicle make it so that you can only go as fast as the posted road speed too. I'm not a fan of that one, but you could adjust it out if you'd like. Options for parking, so your park assist system, and then universal remote if you've got a garage door opener at home. From there, you've got a Wi-Fi hotspot that's available. There's Buick along with a My Buick app where you can do things like remote start, lock, unlock the doors, things like that. You've got news. There's the PlayStore that's available too, so you'd be able to download a bunch of different apps directly to the screen. In order to do it, all you have to do is sign into your account. So you just tap sign in, and then on your phone afterwards, you're going to get a little QR code. Just scan that using your camera, pull it up, and just log into your Gmail account. There we go. And after you've signed in, you're going to get this little message inside of there. We're signed in, so let's go ahead and done. Look at that. Okay, so we do have this set up now. And you can see here, you can explore all apps. You can see different options. So I'm a big fan of using Waze. So you could install Waze directly to the vehicle. So rather than using Google Maps, you can use that instead. The benefit here of being signed into the Google Play Store is that it's linked it to my profile, but inside of Maps now, any addresses that I've searched for on my phone have now pulled up here. So pretty useful. And let's see, we've got a series of different settings that are available. Connections, you've got phones, you can disable Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. If we go back to our phones here, you can add in different devices if you'd like to. So many different options for your vehicle. So there are audio settings there, which we've already seen. So adjusting your treble, mid-range, and bass, managing your preset stations. There's a teen driver available too, so you'd essentially be able to take a key fob and make certain limitations. So you can't go past a certain speed, things like that. Rear seat reminder, if the second row doors have been opened up, you go to turn the vehicle off, you'll get a little message in the cluster telling you to check the back seats. SuperCruise lane change. So there are 3 unique options that are available here. So off, turn signal, or automatic. So with the SuperCruise system enabled, if you're in the turn signal activated, you hit left or right. And what it's going to do is check on either side of the vehicle. So if you've got it left, it's going to look off to the left. If there's space available, it's going to automatically change lanes for you there. But in the automatic mode, it's a step above. So let's say if you've got it set at 80 on the highway, the car in front of you is going too slow, it's going to automatically put on the turn signal for you. It'll change lanes for you. And then over and above that, it can also pull you back into the lane that you were in. So it's essentially passing a slower vehicle for you automatically. It is a really cool system, but you can toggle it off completely. If you didn't have SuperCruise inside of your ride, that just wouldn't show up. Options for air quality, I recommend keeping auto defog, defrost on. When you go to start the vehicle up, do you want your heated seats on, yay or nay? It's summertime now, so that's not a good idea. Collision detection systems, you've got a series of options here. So you've got an alert type. With this one, it's kind of neat. So you can either get a beep or you can get an alert vibration. So let's say if you've got your vehicle in reverse, drive, etc., and there's an obstacle in behind you, your seat is actually going to vibrate. It's the oddest feeling, but kind of neat at the same time. There's automatic emergency braking, so if the vehicle recognizes you're potentially going to get into a collision, it can brake for you. Same thing if it recognizes a pedestrian. If you're at an intersection and there's an accident, it can brake for you there too. If you go into cruise control, you can get a notification inside of the cluster. Let's see, park assist with braking. So as you go to back up, if there is an obstacle in behind you there, it can automatically brake for you. And then if it recognizes that there's a pedestrian there too, it can also give you a heads up letting you know. Comfort and convenience, you've got chime volumes there. So any volume that you get for reminders, things like that, you can set the unique volume. Actually, I'm not a fan of having that one up. Let's turn it as far down as we can. With your power liftgate, do you want to have it so that it opens up to the very highest? Custom, you can set your own unique height, or you can turn it off completely, which means it's going to be just a manual liftgate. Hands-free access is pretty neat. So with this one turned on, if you walk up towards the back end with the key fob on you, it's going to automatically open up that liftgate for you. Do you want your mirrors to tilt? Yes or no? So driver, passenger side, or both. So where this comes into play is, let's say, flip yourself into reverse. You can see there, the mirrors are going to tilt down. So that's driver, passenger side, or whatever you've got it set to. You put yourself back into park, and it's going to pull those side view mirrors up for you. I'm not a fan of that one, so I'm just going to keep that off. When you go to lock the vehicle, do you want these side view mirrors to automatically fold in for you? If you've got your front windshield wipers going, and then you put yourself into reverse, it's automatically going to turn on the rear wiper for you. Attention assist, if you start to either veer over too many times with signaling, or if you're yawning too much, etc., you could have nothing happen, or it can also give you a heads up, letting you know that you should probably take a break. Lighting. Ambient lighting is available there. Your vehicle locator light, so if you want to find your vehicle, hit the lock button on the vehicle and you'll get notification lights on the outside. When you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off or do they stay on for up to 2 minutes? Power door locks. Auto door unlock, do you want all doors to become unlocked? Strictly the driver's door. Delayed door lock too, nothing exciting there. Remote lock, unlock and start. Do you want to get feedback when you go to lock the vehicle? I personally am a big fan of that one, at least a horn so that you know that you've actually locked the door, but you can get a light flash and the horn. When you go to unlock the doors, do all doors become unlocked or strictly the driver's door? Pretty good from a safety perspective. Let's see. Relock doors. When you remote start the vehicle, do you want the heated seats to come on? There's also a remote window operation too, where you can use the key fob to roll the windows down. So let's hop outside and I'll show you how those ones work. In order to remote start, what you're going to do is press the lock button once and circle button twice. So you're just going to go lock, circle twice. See there that we're remote started. In order to cancel the remote start, just push and hold that circle button again, and remote start's now canceled. Getting into the trunk of the vehicle can be done a few different ways. So you can double push the button on the key fob there. There's also the option for hands-free access. As long as you've got the key fob on you, all you're going to do is walk up towards the back end and the liftgate is automatically going to open. You've got the option of setting this at a unique height too. So all you're going to do is set it to whatever height you'd like to. Once you find that perfect height, so let's say if your garage is a little bit shorter, find that height, push and hold the button here. Heard that chime, and that's going to lock it into place so it wouldn't open up past that point. And then just button push in order to close. There is one other thing that you can do with the key fob, and that's using it to roll the windows down. In order to do it, you're going to push the unlock button twice and hold in the second press. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. And watch this. Once it beeps, you can release the fob, and it's opening up all 4 windows. Some countries have the window up option where you can push the lock button twice. Unfortunately, the Enclave North American markets doesn't have it available as an option. Let's see, do you want to get a reminder if you've left the vehicle in your key fob in the vehicle? Yay, nay. Seating position with seat memory. So you've got the option of setting up your seat the way that you'd like to. You then tap set in either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. But with the easy entry exit memory, when you go to turn the vehicle off, it's essentially going to back the seat up and lower it in order for you to get in and out of the vehicle easier. From here, you can put the vehicle into transport mode, different options for notifications, nothing exciting there at all. Different apps that were available, so you could see all of the different apps on the vehicle. If they're being used, yay or nay, you can adjust the date and time. Do you prefer military time, so that 12 versus 24-hour mode? In this, they're grayed out because we're in automatic. So if you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it constantly flips you from one time zone to the other, you can permanently lock in another time zone if you'd like to. I recommend keeping it in the auto mode, and it's the same thing with the date and time. So if you wanted to manually adjust that out, you could. And back, you've got options for the display. So right now, we're in the auto mode, so you can permanently lock it in to the day or the light mode, just depending on your own personal preference. But auto means it's automatically going to adjust out the brightness of the infotainment, just based off of how bright it is outside. 2 options for cluster. So if you've got a route going, it would show up on the screen there. And then traffic sign recognition, yay or nay. So do you want that showing up inside of the cluster? Not a big fan of that one. You could toggle the display off there if you'd like to. And then to turn it back on, down low, you've got that button. Just push in order to bring it back on again. So same idea, so you can push and hold that in order to toggle the display off if you'd like to. Sounds, you've got your touch feedback. So the beeping we're getting here, you could toggle it off if you'd like. With your max startup, if you've got the audio cranked because you've just been rocking out, turn the vehicle off and then back on again, you can limit how loud or quiet the audio is going to be. Different options for profile, which we've already seen. Since I signed into my Gmail account, you can now see that that's available there. Privacy information, just keep the stuff on. There's nothing exciting here. Location data, you could adjust any of these things out. There's voice assistant, so you can tap the voice command prompt in order to bring up your assistant that way. You can adjust different things out too. So if you wanted to have it listen for, hey Google, you can do that. You can change up the language for your assistant too. So there are a boatload of different options for the assistant. It's just the benefit of it being a Google device. Let's see. From there, security. If you've got profiles set up, set yourself up with a pattern pin or a password so people can't just look through your profile. And then some system information. So you can adjust out your language. Do you want to be in either English, French, or Spanish? Keyboard, you can adjust that out to something different. Measurement units, another useful one. Do you want to be in either US or metric? So if you're going cross-border, you can change that out easily that way if you'd like. And it also adjusts out your temperature too. So pretty straightforward. You can reset a few different ways. You can reset all of your vehicle settings. You can fully erase the infotainment data too. So let's say if you're selling your vehicle or it's a press vehicle, so I might do a full reset, you can do it that way. You can also do a soft reboot too. I'll show you that one towards the end of this video on the infotainment. You can restart in safe mode too. So if you've downloaded an app to the vehicle and it's causing issues, you can restart in safe mode to remove that app from the vehicle. You can also do a soft screen reboot. So in order to do it, there's the little hang up button along the steering wheel. So you're just going to push and hold that for about 10 to 12 seconds or so. You're just going to keep on holding. And what we're doing is essentially forcing a soft reboot. So it's the same thing as if you were to reset your phone. But eventually, you're going to see it'll jump back a screen there. And then just release. You can see it's also reset part of the cluster screen. And then after a second, you're going to see the infotainment system turn off completely. And what it's doing is just entering a soft reboot cycle. So that should solve the majority of issues that you're facing. You can do it while you're driving too, which is beneficial. See how you can see here, but that's going to essentially reset the system. So it's going to reset. It's essentially the same thing as clearing the cache by restarting your phone. So that should solve all the issues that you're facing. I know that that is a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the infotainment system inside of the Enclave.